Hi, I'm Saxon Ra, and I'm recording this tutorial for like the 11th time because either my voice has been too low, the video has screwed up, or YouTube freaking destroyed the two videos that I made. So now that I'm going crazy with plugins, let's get started, and hopefully this will be super simple, easy, and hopefully you'll have a plugin that you can start editing and adding functionality to as soon as we're done. Excuse me. I'm going to take a sip of tea. So yes, what do we need? We need a folder structure. And we're going to need before we need a folder structure, we're actually going to need a C++ project. We are going to create a blank C++ project with nothing in it except starter content. I've named mine Let's Program. I use this project for all of my plugin containing because I like to develop all of my plugins in one area. That way I can just back up one project and have it all be there and be backed up. So, and it's very inexpensive to back up a project. It's only like, let's see, properties. It's only 687 megs. That's nothing. So yeah, what I'm gonna do is, so after we created a project, we're gonna close down the editor because we don't need it open. We're gonna create a folder within our root projects folder, okay? And we're gonna call it plugins. This is the folder that contains all of your other plugins, and plugins are contained within their own folder. So you have your plugin folder name, you have your two folders, a resource folder, a source folder, and a uplugin file. Now, these three things are really simple. Your resources folder has a 128 by 128 icon, which is a PNG file. You can use transparency. In your source folder, we'll get to that in a second, but for now, we're going to create a file of our plugin name, and it's going to be of type .uplugin. Now, uplugins are actually a JavaScript object notation file with just a custom uplugin extension. So I'm going to use Notepad++, and you can see what's kind of going on here. We have like a main bracket that contains everything. You have an attribute and a value, and that's how it's structured. You have a bunch of attributes and a bunch of values. The attributes are self-explanatory. The values are also self-explanatory. So right. So most of these things are pretty self-explanatory, as I said. I'm not going to get into creating a runtime plugin. Maybe I'll go over that later. But for now, this is what you will need. Modules is actually an attribute as well, but it takes an array because you can have multiple plugin modules in a plugin. You can have multiple modules within a plugin. A plugin is a container, a module is actually the plugin, or is actually a plugin. So, right. Now that you should have something similar to this, I have actually included all of the files that you'll need, so it should be really easy to get started and edit what you need, like your friendly name, maybe your category, your description, your created by URL, your created by, your version name if you want to go all willy-dilly crazy. Your name of your module will be the name of your plugin folder. So right. So yeah, that's your JavaScript object notation. That tells the editor all the information about your plugin. So next, our source folder. Within there, we're going to have another folder that is named our plugin name. And the reason is because this is going to contain our source. And our source needs, well, our plugin folder will have two things in it: a folder called private and a .build.cs. It's a C# file which invokes the build tool and tells the build tool all of our dependencies. So we're not going to worry about private right now, but we're going to open up the build .cs, and it's using build tool. The class is the folder name, and it's using the folder name and the private. That's its private include path. That's its range. That's all it can see. I'm adding some dependency modules because the engine is module based. You are extending your plugins based on the module. So right. Yeah. So that's your build CS. Like I said, I've included this so you can change your class name and your class name and your folder name, and you can change your whatever. So right. So now that we have our build tool all set up, like I said, that's what invokes the build tool to tell the Unreal build tool how our plugin, not how it behaves, but what it depends upon. So within our private folder, we're going to have 3 files. We're going to have 2 headers, and we'll have a C++ source file. We have 2 C++ headers and a C++ source. The first C++ header you're going to create is a precompiled header, and this is where you're going to include everything that you need for your plugin. So you're gonna need these 2. These are the only 2 that you need. You won't need Slate, but you will need Slate if you follow my next couple tutorials on adding functionality to your plugin. Our tool suite module, so this module is the module, right? This is what tells that source file what it's about, right? It declares everything. So I'm a pragma once. I'm going to declare a log category called module log, so that way we can log some messages to our output window. Our tool suite module takes a public module interface, and we don't have any private functions or anything like that for now, but we have our constructor, and we have our shutdown and startup, and we're overriding these so we can print a message when we start up and shut down, so that way we know we can find in the log file where our tool started and ended and what is in between. So now our source file includes our precompiled header, our module header, and it's going to implement the module tool suite module. Tool suite. We're gonna define the log category as module long, since we defined it in here. We're going to define a localization text namespace, and we're going to call it tool suite. Actually, I wonder if I can. I'm going to try that, but if it doesn't work, I'm going to have to delete that, but whatever. So for now, that's our constructor, our startup module, our shutdown module, and like I said, we're invoking the Unreal Engine log, module log, giving a warning, saying, hey, we're started and we're ended. So I think that's it, right? Yep. So now, if we go back to our project folders, we can generate our Visual Studio project files. After that's done, we can open up Visual Studio. I'm going to right click on my solution and excuse me. I'm going to right click my solution in the Solution Explorer. I'm going to build the solution. After this is done building, it's going to give us a plugin DLL, and it's going to compile our project. I believe it actually compiles in that order too. It compiles our plugin, then it compiles our project. So when we're actually building the solution, what's happening? Ah, I knew it. Okay. Ah, I thought so. Oops. Plugins, tool suite, source, tool suite, private, module, edit with notepad. I'm just gonna go back in. I'm just gonna delete the localization text and just keep it as text. You'll get it like this, so it'll work automatically. I just wanted to see if the localization with text would work, but I didn't give it enough parameters, so it didn't. So right, I'm going to generate the Visual Studio project again. Probably don't need to do that, but when I do that, it's going to say, hey, or actually it didn't because I didn't have anything open. But I'm going to build the solution again. This time it actually succeeded, and you can see it actually built the plugin. And because the project was already compiled, it did not need to compile the project again. So what it did is it only compiled our plugin, and that's really useful, and that's why I use a single project, because you don't need to compile that project ever again after the first time, unless you're actually added functionality to it. Then you will, but after that, then you won't. You only need it to build once, and then you can just iterate on your plugins, and your plugins will get recompiled. And it's actually really a lot faster, because since you're using a pre-compiled header, everything is in one area, its dependencies are all right there, they just get collapsed down, and bam, bada boom, bada bing. So right, now that our plugin is compiled, we can open up our project. After we open up our project, there's two things we're going to need to do. First things first is we're going to go down here to output log, and we're going to scroll up, and we're going to notice about midway through it says module log, warning, tool suite log started. That's awesome. Amazing, right? We created our own logger. We are able to view our log messages. You can't see the ending message because we haven't ended, but you'd be able to see that in the log file. So now that we can see that our log is actually working, that means our plugin's working. That must mean that in our plugins, installed Hairbach Labs ROS Tool Suite, and it's all there. It's awesome. I can click on my name to go to a web page. Ta-da! Which is pretty awesome. Got my icon, which is awesome. It's enabled by default because that's how I set it up in the plugin JSON file. Yeah, so cool, very cool. That's how we create a plugin. Now, in the next video, I'll go over adding functionality to the plugin and doing all that fun stuff. But for now, you have your own plugin. You created a plugin that outputs to the Unreal Engine log, and you've created it using 3 different languages. So you should pat yourself on the back because it's amazing. You use 3 different languages in conjunction to create something that works. Now, what's real quick before I end this, if I were to cut this plugin folder out of here, put it in my root, my Let's Program root, I'm going to delete the intermediate, I'm going to delete the binaries, I'm going to delete the saved. I'm going to generate Visual Studio projects. I'm going to open up Visual Studio again. I'm going to rebuild the project, okay? Oops. I'm going to rebuild the solution. After it's done compiling, there we go. We'll get a succeed. Okay, now if I run this, you know that my plugin's not in there. You know that it's not in there. You know for a fact because I just compiled it and it only linked my project. But to make sure it's not in there, if I go to Window, Output Log, go about midway up, you'll notice, oh no, what happened to our log? It's because it's gone. It's not there. So if I go here to Plugins, and I go down here to, oh, installed, it's not there. Great, that's actually really good. Exactly what we wanted. So I have my root. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to open this in a new window. So I have my plugins folder, right? Since this has already been compiled, I'm actually going to copy this. I'm going to paste it. Keep a copy of it. But I'm going to go in here and I'm going to delete the source. Okay? Now I'm going to take this plugins folder. I'm going to drop it into the root structure and I'm just going to run the engine. Because I deleted the source, because this plugin is compiled, this project doesn't need to compile it. It's already compiled. It's ready to go. And since I'm using an engine version higher than 4.2, because I said that in the plugin file, it allows me to go up here, scroll up, and you'll notice module log warning tool suite log started. Great. That must mean that in our plugins the installed worked without compiling. It only works like that if you compile it first. That's how you distribute your plugin. You'll have your plugin file, you'll have your resources folder, and your binaries, which would contain this. Yeah, so great. And I'm pretty sure you'd actually want to compile your plugin with not the development editor. You probably would want to do release if you were releasing it, because I think the development editor has a little bit of debugging in it or something. I forget exactly what it is, but it has something that you might want to get rid of. So yeah, that's how you create a plugin structure. That's how you generate the files that you need for your project to understand that you've added that structure. And you learned a little bit about the build tool and how it builds from the build CS. You learned how to write a plugin and what its base needs to be able to run, which is just 3 source files. You can do it in 2, but that third one really speeds things up. Yeah, I hope I didn't forget anything. I hope this tutorial is followable, because I know I didn't actually type out all the code and do it with you, but since I'm including the code regardless, none of you are going to type with me. You're just going to look at it and you're going to either copy and paste it, or you're going to paste the plugin and you're just going to rename all the stuff that you want renamed. And I kind of like it better that way, because the tutorial's not fucking 4 hours long, and it's prone to less errors. If I am typing, I might make syntax errors, grammatical errors, spelling errors, might screw something up. This way, I know it works, and you have the files that I know work, and I can debug it from that if you guys have any problems or anything. So, right, that's mostly everything I wanted to get done. Yeah, it's a really, really, really simple thing. It's a really, really simple thing, making plugins. It's a really, really simple thing. You shouldn't be intimidated. And actually, if you got it to compile, you should pat yourself on the back, because you've used 3 different languages to make something that works, and that's pretty awesome. Yeah, so I guess I can end it there. If you're interested, there will be more tutorials on plugins. If there's anything else you'd like me to go over, please don't hesitate to ask. I'm more than happy to create tutorials for people. I wish I've created this tutorial a lot sooner. I've known how to do this for months. I've had no time to actually record a tutorial. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed this, and I hope you join me next time